Hi and good morning everyone. Welcome to this week's Rail Europe online training. My name is Sophia. I'm calling here from Melbourne and as per usual, welcome to everyone who is joining here today. As per usual, this training session is currently being recorded, so if you would like to go back and listen to the recording, the Rail Europe online recording sheet is going to be available in the training library on My Rail Europe. Just a couple of things before we begin, just some things that we usually start off with. Any questions that you have during the training session, as per usual, please feel free to enter them in the chat box. I'll do my best, my very best to try and answer these along the way, if they are just a quick and easy one, but rest assured if I don't answer it immediately, no fear at all, we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the training program too. And just another thing too is that if you are joining, if you can kindly just put your microphone on mute for the duration of the meeting, you can, just so that we don't have any sound or feedback while the training presentation is going on. After all, this presentation is being recorded, so we just want to eliminate any potential possibilities of that happening as well. More than happy for you to use your microphones during the Q&A session. If you want to unmute yourself and vocalize your question, that's absolutely fine. But without further ado, I will get started. So this topic for today is a focus on the UK and also focusing on a brand new way of issuing tickets, which is the England M Pass, or the Britrail M Pass. So I guess just before we begin, it's a very exciting thing that we get to talk about today, because it's going to be one of the very first rail passes that we have ever issued in an electronic format. I mean, of course, there's the Swiss Travel Pass Consecutive and other types of rail pass which are possible, but out of the Britrail product focus, it is one of the first electronic passes that we've been able to issue. And certainly it's something to get very excited about, because it puts a very perspective on what rail passes may be like in the future. We don't know. But I guess what we'll do is we will go through just an overview of a number of different things before we actually get to the Britrail M Pass. So today here is our agenda. So we are just going to go through briefly very introductory things about what is the UK, what comprises of the United Kingdom, and some amazing reasons as to why you should travel to the UK. Having traveled there myself, I can definitely list at least 50 different reasons why, but I mean, for yourself and for your customers, it's definitely a place to consider going. And not only that, we also have an array of different products and types of tickets that we can match for the types of journeys that you'd like to do or your customers would like to do in the future as well. We'll also take a quick look at ATOC, so now called RDG, and the various tickets that are attached to there. Don't fear if you are looking at ATOC and kind of wondering what on earth is ATOC, for those who may be a little bit newer. Not to worry at all, I will go through that in very basic, from the very beginning, just so that we have a little bit more of a background on what we're talking about as well. But keep that under your hat for now, and we'll continue on with the training session. We'll also focus a fair bit more on the Britrail passes, as well as the different types of passes that Britrail do issue. And also, most exciting is the Britrail M Pass and what it constitutes, and also a very brief discussion on the booking procedure of the Britrail M Pass. So, getting started, and as usual, please enter any questions that you have throughout the training session. But let's travel to the UK for a little bit. And so what is the UK? The UK, or United Kingdom, or Britain, consists of the following countries. So you would have England, which we have presented here in the map here, Scotland, moving a little bit up north, and Wales. Just the tiny little section in yellow over here. And also including Ireland as well. So all of these countries comprise of the United Kingdom, and furthermore, we'll also determine the types of destinations that you can travel to, depending on the type of Britrail pass that you have purchased as well. So I guess some more reasons as to why travel to the UK. Number one, it's an English-speaking country, of course, so there's not going to be many language barriers that you will encounter when you are traveling there. Another thing as well to take into consideration is that, of course, when you're traveling throughout the UK, while it is an English-speaking, obviously the origin of English comes from the United Kingdom, while it is an English-speaking country, it's also an extremely diverse and multicultural place to go to, so that you can, be inspired by so many different cultures and backgrounds that that do exist within this community as well. Another thing is that the UK has some amazing history. It's one of the oldest societies, of all mankind, and certainly when you do go to the United Kingdom, whether or not you're in England or in Scotland, Wales or in Northern Ireland, there's definitely no shortage of history that you can access there, whether you like to go to museums, visiting historical castles, which I'll talk about a little bit later, or even just going to the main source of, almost the origin of humanity, if you like. The royal family, of course, is also located in the United Kingdom. More recently, in the news media, if anyone was following that, we had the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So it's a very interesting thing to follow the royal family, and this is where they originate from. And then furthermore, my number one reason as to why you should travel to the UK is, of course, its natural beauty. And all of that can certainly be accessed when you're traveling by train. If you'd like to travel through beautiful country landscapes in the United Kingdom, the best place to go to travel to through there by rail would be to travel to the Lakes District. It is quite a distance away from London, but certainly if you do have a Britrail pass or a Britrail England pass, it will certainly cover you for that destination in the journey. If you're interested in dramatic landscapes and scenery like in Scotland or in Ireland, or in Northern Ireland, I should be more specific in saying that, there's definitely no shortage of that when you're traveling as well. And another exciting feature is if you like staying in downtown areas, the London nightlife is another great reason as to why you should travel to the UK. Whether or not you enjoy plays, musicals, going to visit restaurants or different bars, there's definitely no shortage of that either. And of course, my favorite, the food. Food available in London or in the United Kingdom is certainly, one of the most exciting things to do if you do travel to the UK. Like I said at the very beginning, the UK is a melting pot of so many different cultures, where you can try thousands of different cuisines, even basically in 1 week of traveling through the UK as well. So of course, your fish and chips as the traditional dish that you might like to try there as well. And then of course, castles. Castles and the historical value that is in the UK is absolutely amazing. So in this image here, you might see the Edinburgh Castle, located in Edinburgh, so that would be in Scotland. One of the coolest places to go to. I went there about 3 years ago in Edinburgh, and it's a great place to spend the day to, see the history of how, the old Scottish royal family, and also the architecture and the history and traditions behind that as well. And some more castles that will certainly be of no shortage when you do travel to the UK. So of course, now we know what the UK is and also why travel to the UK. Now let's look a little bit more closely at the different rail services that we can offer for your customers as well. So at the beginning, I did mention that I was going to talk a little bit about ATOC. So what is ATOC? It stands for Association of Train Operating Companies. So ATOC now operates under the name or brand as RDG, so Rail Distribution Group. One of the most unique features about traveling by UK by rail is that it does operate under a number of different companies. So notice that companies, plural. There are a number of different privatized rail companies operating within the UK, and all operating under the one brand. If you're considering, I'm trying to think of an exact parallel in France. So in France, you would have, the main primary railway operating company would be SNCF, where it operates your TGVs, your TER trains, and also operates, a number of different train companies, a number of different train types under that brand. However, the UK rail network is slightly different in that sense. So ATOC, I think that's something about like 25 different companies that operate under the ATOC or Rail Distribution Group brand, and I will go through that in a little bit more detail as well. So who are ATOC or Rail Delivery Group? So this comprises of a union between National Rail and Britrail as well. So the operating companies that all operate underneath that umbrella, I think there's counting over here, I'm just going to count something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 3, that's about 5. So yeah, so something like about 25 or 26 different train companies that operate underneath that brand as well. So just, so the most common ones that we would all know about, of course, would be Virgin Trains, operating popularly between high-speed routes between London to Edinburgh, one of the most popular journeys that we can book through UK by rail as well, and then also some airport train services like the Gatwick Express. And then even just purely domestically, ScotRail is Scotland's purely domestic railway services. So all of these brands that you're seeing on the screen in front of you are all privatized groups. However, they all operate under the ATOC umbrella because they are an association of train operating companies. Although they are privatized companies, something quite remarkable to note is that all of them fit quite seamlessly in terms of the ticketing and the way that they issue their tickets for people like us at Rail Europe here as well. So our train companies operate across the national rail network of Great Britain, and this would be the entirety of the national rail network. So other open access and other operators would be things like, Grand Central, operating company from London to Sutherland and London to Bradford, operating on this train line right here. I may just zoom in just a tiny bit so that everyone can sort of see that. So you might see Sunderland, and everything in this yellow rail line comprises of that as well. And then Hull trains from London through to Hull, and you might notice this particular brand. If ever you travel through the UK, a lot of the branding of each of these individual train companies is imprinted directly on the train carriage itself. So London through to Hull on first Hull trains, you'll notice it's this section right here coloured in green. So from Hull all the way through to London, just giving a bit of an overview of the different train companies. And then we also have the Heathrow Express. So Heathrow Express is a very popular airport train that we do here in Melbourne, also issue for our customers as well. And most notably operates from, I'm just going to zoom in. I wish I could zoom in a tiny bit more, but that's just about it. Operates from London out through to Heathrow Airport on a very frequent service. So now we know very briefly in terms of the overview of what ATOC, or the Rail Delivery Group, comprises of. Let's take a look at some of the tickets that we can issue. So let's look and focus more on the point-to-point individual single fares that are available. So for those of you who are experienced in booking most of these tickets, you may see some of these fares as being quite familiar. Anytime, off-peak, and advance. So what do these all mean? So with these single fares, they are available to purchase, and they're available up to 6 months in advance. They come in 3 different categories. But before I continue on the 3 different categories, something that I will just quickly note is that these fares are available 6 months in advance, which is true. However, if you do want to avail of, the most cost-effective type of fare, which in this case would be the advanced purchase fares, those advanced purchase and cheaper fares, if I'm allowed to say that particular word, are only available up to 60 days in advance. So it'll make more sense once I go through the 3 categories actually. So breaking down the 3 different categories, you have an anytime fare. And what an anytime fare is that you can travel at any time during the day. So imagine that I've purchased a London to Edinburgh ticket, and the fare type that I've purchased is an anytime ticket. So I decide that I want to check out of my hotel a little bit later than I originally anticipated, and the train that I had originally planned to book departed at 9 o'clock a.m. But then, because I have an anytime fare, I can actually use that exact same ticket to travel on a different time, say 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So there is that great flexibility behind the anytime fare, but of course, because it is almost a fully flexible ticket, it does mean that the price of the ticket is going to be a little bit more than the other counterparts that we're looking at here. So anytime, just in summary, is a very flexible ticket that you can offer. Off-peak. So off-peak is a semi-flexible ticket in that it offers it's less busy trains, and off-peak fares are only available for departures usually after 10 o'clock a.m. And the reason why they only are offered for usually after a 10 o'clock a.m. departure is because trains in the UK do get very busy, not simply because only international travellers travel on them, but also locals, citizens, residents all use the trains. Train travel within the UK is a part of life. So of course, by offering the off-peak fare, your customer can avail of, a more attractive priced ticket. However, it does mean that they do have to travel after 10 o'clock a.m., so away from the peak hour of travel, which is when most business people are commuting throughout the UK as well. And lastly, you have advanced purchase fares. So what the advanced purchase fare means is that you are restricted to the date and the train booked only. So if in the instance I've purchased a ticket from London to Brighton and I've purchased an advanced purchase fare, what that means is that the time and the date that is printed on my ticket is the only time and date that I'm allowed to use that ticket on. I can't flexibly change it to an after departure. I can't choose to use it, in the evening or anything. It has to be used on that very time of departure. Of course, when we have our travelers already have a set agenda in mind, of what time they wish to be traveling on the train. So of course, the advanced purchase fare may often be the most popular choice for tickets to be purchasing. This brings me back to what I was talking about earlier with the tickets being available 6 months in advance. So most of the time, the anytime fares are the fares that will be available 6 months in advance. They'll show in Euronet and they'll show on the Common website as well. However, if you do want to enjoy a more economic fare, and you do also wish to have a confirmed time and date confirmed on your ticket, then of course my advice would be to book an advanced purchase fare, but do bear in mind that those advanced purchase fares are only available 2 months in advance, not 6 months. So they'll release the anytime first, and then the off-peak, and then the advanced purchase fares closer to departure, which is quite different when you think about it as well. But that's my advice when you are booking the UK point-to-point as well. Let's continue. So moving away from single fares, let's look now at a Britrail pass. So what are the Britrail passes best for? They're best for if you plan to visit more than one place within the UK. A Britrail pass would be ideal in this situation. So what it does entitle a customer to, if you do purchase one, is that you can travel the entire country from as little as 3 days up to 1 month. So definitely query with your customers on what is going to be the best option for them, depending on their itinerary and their flexibility and what level of commitment they wish to do when they are traveling as well. So certainly, a Britrail pass is a really, really great way to travel throughout the United Kingdom. Something that I may just point out as well is that with the Britrail passes, they're recognised on the entire Britrail network. So don't worry about the trains and operating companies; it's valid on every single one. Something that I didn't mention in this presentation as well is that although you do have a Britrail pass, most of the time these passes will function very similarly to the URL passes. You have a flexi pass and a consecutive pass. You have I might just ask whoever's just joined in to pop your microphone on mute if that's okay. Thank you. Just because we can hear a little bit of feedback in the recording, but thank you again so much for joining. But just as I was saying earlier as well, is that Britrail passes function very similar to URL passes in terms of flexibility and rates of usage. And I will just, I'm just going to check if we've got any further information that I can quickly show. Whoops, 1 second. One moment as I open up extranet, because I'd just like to show you guys where you can find extra information on this type of pass as well, just in case you've not had a chance to book one before, or you may not have had too much experience with them. Bear with me 1 moment. Okay, it's just loading my page over there. Okay, so with Britrail passes, we have non-European, my apologies, passes. I'm sorry, Britrail passes. I'm just going to bring up the Britrail pass, just the generic one. So what it features is that you do have a consecutive and a flexi pass available as well. So what the Britrail passes do also have is that they're available in first class and standard class. There are a number of different formulas available for different types of passengers if you are purchasing one. So they have adult fares, child fares, senior fares, which is quite rare because we don't have that type of fare when you're booking a Eurail pass, youth fares, and then also saver fares. Something that I will just quickly note is that with saver fares, bear in mind it's fairly different to the Eurail pass formula because of course it is not a Eurail pass. So the saver formula is for passengers of 3 or more, not 2 to 5, but it does have to be 3 or more. So even if you have a couple traveling together, they will not be able to be eligible for the saver fare price. They do need to purchase 2 individual adult Britrail fares, okay? There is a senior formula available for travellers from 60 inclusive on the first day of travel, and the youth formula for travellers ranges from 16 up to 25 years old, okay? Unlike Eurail, which is actually from 12 to 27. So bear in mind that it does have similar offerings to what the Eurail passes do have, but the conditions of ages can be different for this type of pass. So with the types of rail pass, we have a flexi pass, which is for 3, 4, 8, 3, 4, 8 within 1 month or 15 days within 2 months of travel. And as we go along, I'm just going to paste this information in the chat box, but then you also have consecutive passes for 3, 4, 8, 15, 22, or even 1 month of travel. I just got a really good question from Avi. Thank you so much for sending this through. What does the reservations cost? So this is a different side of Britrail that I was going to touch on as well. So thank you for asking this question. So with seat reservations, we actually cannot book them from outside the United Kingdom. I'm not entirely sure how much they actually cost because we simply don't have access to them. In terms of the seat reservations, however, I can confirm that seat reservations are not compulsory on any of the Britrail services. They're recommended certainly for any journeys that are longer than 3 hours. However, they're not compulsory, just to reiterate. If a customer does wish to purchase a seat reservation, then certainly they can organise that locally at the railway station. Okay, but do bear in mind that much like all seat reservations across Europe as well, seat reservations will be at an additional cost to the customer. What that cost is, we cannot confirm or advise that information, unfortunately. So thank you so much for that good question. So just to recap, if you ever want to find out any more information about the Britrail passes, Extranet is the best guide to find that out. So just under European travel passes and then the Britrail section there as well. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back into our presentation. So you might have noticed when I was in Extranet, there were a list of other types of Britrail passes that were available. So I'll go through each one of those now and just go through what they do cover. So the first pass that I was talking about on Extranet is the Britrail pass. What the Britrail pass covers in its offering is the entire Britrail network. So you're talking about Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England as well. So everything on this map here is 100% included on your Britrail pass. If you have any passengers who are planning to travel only in England, then the Britrail England only pass is the best type of pass for them. So I'm not sure if it's as visible on your screens as I am going through the presentation, but there is a really great map that I can show you over here, which shows the color coding of where the specific pass is eligible for. So you have your Britrail England pass. Anything in light blue and grey is where the pass is covered. So Britrail England, just this area all around here. So you're talking about the London area and beyond as well. And then you have your Britrail London Plus Pass. So the Britrail London Plus Pass really covers central London and its surrounding counties and areas as well. So it doesn't entirely cover the United Kingdom or England, I should be more specific, but it does cover central London and its surrounding areas as well. Okay. And then you have your Britrail Spirit of Scotland Pass. So the Britrail Spirit of Scotland Pass really covers the entire Scottish rail network. So you're talking about its central areas like Glasgow, Edinburgh, but then even the Highland regions is where it all covers this area as well. So central Scotland, its surrounding areas, and the Highland region. A perfect type of pass if you have passengers who really want to explore that area, but don't necessarily need to cover anywhere else really, just solely Scotland. And then you have your Britrail Central Scotland Pass, so just its main capital cities, so you're talking about Edinburgh, Glasgow, and just this small section coloured in light purple over here as well. And then you have your Britrail Scottish Highlands Pass. I'd certainly recommend this pass because for me personally, the last time I went to the United Kingdom, I actually went to the Scottish Highlands, and it was one of the most amazing and most scenic trips that I'd ever been to as well. So just a little travel tip for all of you, if ever you want to visit one of the most scenic railway journeys in the world, definitely I would recommend either taking a Britrail Central Scotland Pass and travelling quite flexibly across all of the rail networks in this area, or even simply purchasing an advanced purchase point-to-point ticket, an ATOC ticket. And the most scenic, just a little secret for all of you, the most scenic train journey that you can ever travel on is from Glasgow through to Fort William. I won't talk too much about it because I think it's something that you'd really want to save as a surprise for your customers, particularly because the only word I can really describe it is that it is the most dramatic scenery that you'll ever travel on for the most affordable price that you can offer on an ATOC ticket as well. So do remember that, Glasgow to Fort William. And then lastly, we have our Britrail Southwest Pass. So the Britrail Southwest Pass specifically covers this network over here in the southwest area of the UK. So these rail networks coloured in yellow, okay? So continuing on, what do the Britrail passes offer? They offer full and complete travel across on any train operating company. However, if you do want to, just to reiterate Avi's question earlier, if you do want to get a seat reservation, you do have to organise that locally at the railway station. They're not compulsory, they're recommended for any longer journeys of more than 3 hours, just for the comfort of your passenger as well. And the Britrail passes, of course, do offer as much flexibility to travel at any time if your passengers are not concerned about any time constraints and they would like to travel on that itinerary without much restraint on their journey. So what else do they offer? I'm just going to skip over here. So Britrail passes also offer the Caledonian McBrain, all scheduled ferry services within Scotland. And also, various ferries between Gourock and Dunoon included in the cost of the Spirit of Scotland Pass. So if you do have passengers who want to explore beyond, the mainland areas, the Britrail Pass may cover their travel on their ferry as well. And then, of course, it also offers seasonal discounts, such as a low season discount. And there's usually a promotion that does get released during November and February, where there is a 20% off discount on the cost of the rail passes. So definitely something worth availing of as well. Another thing as well is that Britrail passes do offer group discounts. In addition, there's also a free child rule available for children aged 5 to 15 inclusive when accompanied by one adult or a senior. So they still do employ the same free child condition as well with their rail passes, but of course just bear in mind that the conditions and the rules are a little bit different in comparison to URL, which is what we're primarily used to booking. Of course, Britrail passes do also offer significant value over buying single tickets. Purchasing single tickets in the UK can often be quite an economic choice. I will just describe this a little bit more. If you do purchase, advanced purchase fares for your customers, it's roughly about 2 months in advance of travel, then of course you can get, some great value and pricing of tickets as well. But of course, if you do have, if you are purchasing a number of single tickets which exceed something like more than 3 or 4 different journeys within the UK, certainly consider purchasing a Britrail pass because it offers so much flexibility and furthermore additional bonuses and discounts. And also it doesn't restrain the traveller to a specific day or time of travel. If they do wish to travel on a certain train journey, they can even pre-organise their seat reservations locally at the railway station, which makes things easier if you have clients with an itinerary that is going to be subject to change depending on the journey. And of course, it does have a fistful of savings as well. So definitely consider purchasing a Britrail pass if your clients are interested in doing quite extensive travel throughout the UK as well. So let's continue on. I will just quickly bring up this short little video. I hope that it actually works. I'm just going to, so something that we will introduce, I've been talking on and on and on about the Britrail passes, but something that we will talk about, which is the main focus of today, is the Britrail England M Pass. So I think that the video didn't work. Let me just, I may have to, bear with me everyone, I may have to open it externally just in case. One moment. Perfect. Bear with me just one second, everyone. Just a couple technical difficulties that we just need to overcome. Okay, perfect. So just a little quick video that I just wanted to show everyone of Britrail. Okay, so that was just a quick little video on the Britrail M passes, but there are definitely already, even just watching that quick little video, a number of different advantages to this type of pass, and it's a very exciting thing, even for me, someone who's been selling rail for a number of years now, to now introduce into our product portfolio. So basically, with the Britrail England M passes, before I'll just take away that information first, but the biggest feature of the Britrail M pass is that it is a fully electronic pass. So really, really exciting to introduce there. Traditionally, we work in a world of paper tickets, and it eliminates so many problems or any potential things that may happen if you are working with paper tickets. It's convenient. It can always be kept and retrieved on easily because it's simply just downloaded on your mobile phone. And if your documentation gets lost, it's not like a paper ticket. You can always find it again. So it's extremely easy. So basically with the Britrail England M passes, just bear in mind that the M pass, or the electronic pass really, is only available for the Britrail England passes. It's not available for the the complete Britrail passes or the Scotland, Freedom of Scotland passes or any of those. It's just Britrail England. Basically what the Britrail England M pass is currently eligible or available for is that it is available in 3, 4, 8, 15, 22 or 30 days consecutive travel. So it's available in first and standard class and adult and child. There are senior options available also travelers, I'm losing my voice here, travelers 60 and over on the first day of travel, and there are also youth options available for ages between 16 and 25 on the first day of travel. So just to take away from this, of course, it's just consecutive passes it looks like that the M pass is going to be available for. And just zooming out a little bit here, but of course, main thing is to note is that saver options are not available for the Britrail England M passes, but they still do have the free child rule available, where one child from 5 up to 15 inclusive on the first day of travel can travel for free if they're accompanied by either one adult or one senior as well. But of course, something to note is that the first date of travel is required, as is the date of birth, the country of residence, and also the passport number. So just some extra information in order for us to actually process these passes too. So the procedure of how this does happen is that you would book the products in Euronet and confirm, of course, any other products available that you would be booking, apply the payment, and then confirm the Euronet booking. Then what happens is that an email does have to get sent to the fulfillment team, so the help desk in Mumbai, and they will manually book the pass and send a PDF with the link to the MPass to the email address on the Euronet account as well. So everything, of course, is done by the fulfillment team, and the pass will be, and just to reiterate, will be sent as a PDF to you directly, or the email address that's been listed on the Euronet account. But of course, be advised of the following information. This is very, very important. So the pass is activated through the link that is provided by the help desk team. Once you actually click on the link and access it, the pass actually becomes activated, and from that point on is non-refundable. So very, very important to make sure that you are aware of this information. Although there's so much convenience and some great features of what the Britrail MPasses do have, bear in mind that once it gets confirmed and you receive that email with the PDF link and everything, once you click on that link, cancellation penalty fees will apply, which in this case it's non-refundable because the pass is now effectively activated simply by clicking on that link. So, but if you're happy with clicking on the link, once you do click the link, you can download the actual Britrail England MPass to your mobile device. And this is an example screenshot of what it looks like. It will serve as your actual travel document. So this is just a screenshot of what the Britrail England MPass looks like. So it shows the class of service, when it's valid until and valid from, hence why when you're booking the product, you need to know when the first date of travel is going to be. And then also the name of the passenger, the residency of the passenger, and the validity period of the pass that has been purchased. You might have seen on the video the passenger was scanning her phone through the turnstiles and the gates. This is the barcode that you would present when you are scanning that through. And of course, just to reiterate as per the video, if the barcode, if the gate that your passenger is traveling through does not have like an electronic scan code, of course, simply just by showing the screenshot of the Britrail pass or the Britrail England MPass is sufficient for the passenger to sort of walk around through the gates as well. Okay, and so that pretty much sums up everything that we were referring to in today's training session. So we basically went through a little bit of an overview of UK by rail and, best reasons why to travel to the UK, and also an overview of the various tickets and rail passes available. Of course, the Britrail England MPass is a very brand new thing for rail travel in general, and it's certainly an exciting new thing to introduce into our product line as well. Some people have asked me, at least here in our Melbourne office, of when we may get other passes in an electronic format, similar to the Britrail England MPass. The answer is we are not sure. So of course, this is a fantastic development to have been made by Britrail themselves, but of course, when other passes may follow suit is certainly something that we can continue looking out for. However, it's a great start and something that we can continue, hoping for in the near future as well with this development. So thank you so much for those who joined today's very quick little training session. We do have one question that I will answer in the training session, but does anyone have any questions that they'd like to enter in the chat box? Otherwise, you're also welcome to unmute your microphone if you want to directly ask the question to me, and I'll try my best to answer it as well. But otherwise, putting it in the chat box is just fine. But if you're leaving us now and you don't want to stay for the Q&A session at the end, that's completely fine. Thank you so much to those who have joined, and we hope to see you again in another 2 weeks. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so there was a question from one staff member, one trainee in here, asking if the Britrail Southwest Pass is going to be valid to Cambridge. That's a good question. I'm not actually sure of that one. Edith, I may actually just look this one up for you and then send the response to you by email. May I ask you, Edith, to just give me your email address in private, just make sure that you're sending it directly to WebEx Rail Europe when you're sending the chat response to. And what I'll do is I'll look at that one for you this afternoon and then send you my response. It's just something I'll have to investigate just a little bit more to make sure that that type of class is eligible for that route. Other than that, it looks like no one else has asked any questions. Any last questions before I end the session? Okay. Great. Thank you so much for everyone that joined, and thank you so much for that email address, Edith. I'll look into this one for you in just a moment, and I'll send you my response shortly. For those who joined and for those who are leaving, thank you so much again. We'll see you in another couple of weeks. Bye-bye.